Hey, what is up, disc golfers? Today on Iceberg TV, we've got some super unfortunate news from Chris Dickerson. After having two radiologists and an orthopedic surgeon review my MRI images, there are a lot of findings. I have moderate to severe osteoarthritis in my hip. It's bad enough that it's caused multiple bone spurs. I also have avascular necrosis. This means there's a part of my hip that is not getting blood flow, and as a result of that, my bone is dying. The necrosis is just starting, and it's very tiny and localized right now. My hip is apparently deformed enough that they asked if I was born with a birth defect or had been in a major car accident. I'd never had any issues with my hip until my T-pad slip at the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championships in October. After rehabbing it all off season, it felt 90% better. There are certain things that can cause pain in the front of my hip or groin, but it's more than manageable. Seth Muncie suggested I get an MRI after discussing my pain with him at chess.com in Florida. We are hoping to rule out any major problems. This is obviously not the result I was hoping for. The doctors I have talked to so far have told me the only options are shots for pain and eventually a total hip replacement. They have also said that if I put off the hip replacement until I am 50, that's ideal. I'm already making appointments with some doctors to look into some alternative therapies, options like PRP or exosomes. I've been told by doctors in my area that I do not need to stay local for this. So, if you or someone you know is a specialist in orthopedics and or sports medicine doing alternative therapies, let me know. I'd love to get as many opinions as possible. This shouldn't have any extreme impacts on my disc golf career. The biggest things right now are keeping blood flow to the area, continuing PT to strengthen the muscles around the hip, and finding specialists for alternative therapies. My pain is minimal to none for now, and I'm hoping to keep it that way for as long as possible. Know that I'm far from done in disc golf. I have accomplished some great things in my career, but I have a lot left to give the sport. So Chris Dickerson's dealing with some really complicated and complex and scary sounding things. What it sounds like is eventually he's going to need to get a hip replacement, which is a massive surgery. It's very painful. But in the short term, it seems like it's pretty much not really affecting his play. But there is a little bit of hesitance in your mind when you know you have injuries and problems like this that could prevent you from going, full speed on each and every throw. Again, that's just my opinion. That's not what Chris said, but that's just my thoughts. He's said himself that his hip is 90%, and obviously that's not going to be as good as if his hip was 100%. Now, one of my thoughts was that what Chris said here. I've never had any issues with my hip until the T-pad slip at the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championships in October. And when I first read this, I was like, uh-oh, are we going to see another Disc Golf Pro Tour lawsuit on our hands because the T-pads have been particularly sketchy over the last few seasons, it seems. Those grass turf T-pads, uneven T-pad set on uneven ground. A lot of players have been slipping and injuring themselves. I was wondering, are we gonna have a lawsuit on our hands again? Because that would really not be a good thing for the Disc Golf Pro Tour right now. But if Chris ever did decide to go that route, I would totally understand. But we have a statement here from Chris Dickerson. Someone said, "Surely the Disc Golf Pro Tour has an insurance policy for player injury at their events?" Question mark. Chris replied, "They do, but this was something pre-existing that the slip just flared up." So Chris basically admitted here that these are pre-existing health conditions that were just sort of exaggerated by the slip, but not caused by the slip. So that's a good sign that we probably won't see a lawsuit regarding this issue in the future, but definitely something worth mentioning. The sketchy T-pads are, exaggerating or causing injuries with players. Then that is a problem that we need to see fixed soon. We need to start seeing standardized T-pads a lot more often than we are currently seeing. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. It's super unfortunate to see that, Chris Dickerson's going through a lot of pain. He's such a good and talented player, particularly on these heavily wooded courses. He's so fun to watch. He was an absolute staple on the Prodigy team, and he was an absolute steal for Team Discraft, and he's been really good with Discraft discs as well. I'm really excited to see what he's able to do in the future. This is one of those guys that he has that killer instinct, and he can come out and win majors. But if you're only at 90% and other players are at 100%, it's not easy to come out and do so. So I'm hoping maybe maybe Chris can talk to Paul McBeth, because Paul McBeth went with the non-surgical route for his labrum tear, and it seems to be holding up pretty well. So maybe Paul McBeth can get Chris Dickerson linked up with some of his sources that helped Paul Macbeth heal his funky shoulder. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You are watching Iceberg TV, and take care.